Hey everybody, welcome. It's been a super long time since we streamed. It's been about like a year and a half or something like that.
That's a while.
Yeah, this is now officially Stream 2.0 for Volition. It's a new room, new couch that we don't sink into. I have my own chairs so I don't look even smaller. But hi, you might remember me. I am Josh Stinson. I'm the video editor here, or the streams are. I have like 3 different titles. 2 of them are made up at least. And on the couch today we have...
I am Jim Boone. I'm the studio director here at Volition.
I'm Mike Kulas. I'm the general manager at Volition.
And over in the control room corner, we have...
Hey guys, Mike Watson here, community developer for Volition and running the stream. Nice to see everybody again.
Oh my god, we can see you now. You're
I
not in
know.
a completely different part of the office.
It's amazing.
Incredible. But yeah, we're here today for our first stream to kind of talk about Volition and the studio and some other stuff going on with us. Mainly the first thing is, obviously I just said we haven't streamed for like a year and a half or something. And why is that? And the big elephant in the room, I think Jim can talk about that one.
Sure.
Yeah.
So as I'm sure all of you know, Agents of Mayhem was the last game that we produced, and it was a game. It was an interesting game for us at Volition because on the one hand, it was a game that a lot of people put a lot of time in, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. There was a tremendous amount of excitement for the game internally, and a lot of the things we had wanted to do for so long in development, we were trying to apply to Agents of Mayhem, and so there was a lot of excitement about it. But sometimes in game development, it just doesn't work out. No matter how hard you try or how good the concept might be, it just doesn't work out. And that was the case, unfortunately, for Agents of Mayhem. People were, I think, excited for the game to come out and see how it would perform and see what people would think about it. And unfortunately, it didn't hit what we were hoping for. We thought that people would enjoy the different sort of tone that we were doing for it, trying to do something different than the previous Saints Row and Red Faction games we had done, and it just didn't. It didn't quite click. It didn't click from a consumer standpoint, reviewers and or sales, and so. And unfortunately, we're a business. It's a business that we're doing, and we do it because we're passionate about this stuff and we love to do it. But at the end of the day, it's a business. And because Agents of Mayhem didn't do well, unfortunately, we faced layoffs with that.
Yeah, and unfortunately,
as an example.
Yeah, I was one of the people that got laid off during that period. But I mean, I'm back.
Yes.
Thanks to everyone here who remembered me and liked me.
Which we all did, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the good news is that after Agents of Mayhem, we've gotten to the point where we're back. We're digging into things again. We're on our new project. And I think that everyone is excited and enthusiastic as we've ever been on any of the other projects we've worked on. And like I say, sometimes these things happen. Mm-hmm. And because we've been around the block enough and you go through these cycles enough times that we're at that point where we're driving forward on new stuff and getting past Agents of Mayhem. It doesn't mean we have just forgotten it or that we don't care about what we did with it, but that was the last game, and now we're on to new things.
Yeah. And with the two of you on the couch, both of you have been on Volition streams once in the past.
Yes.
For when you originally left Volition,
That's right.
2 or 3 years ago or something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah. And then you were on a stream once to promote Overload.
That's right. That feels like a long time ago.
felt like- yeah.
And it actually kind of was. It was during the Kickstarter, so February or March of 2016. So it's over 3 years
Man,
ago.
okay.
That's
Yeah.
like half the time that I was gone. It has elapsed since then. But
That's
yeah,
crazy.
we came in here we would have done anything to make our make our pledge go on Kickstarter, and it was great to come here. It was weird for me to be walking around the studio again.
Yeah.
It was good. It was nice of you guys to let us on your stream, and
totally.
it was. It was an incredibly satisfying experience to make Overload. It was hard. In some ways, it's harder for me than this is. I
Really?
think my programming, I was a programmer in Overload.
Okay.
And I'm not programming
I shouldn't
here.
laugh, but that's I'm not sure I'm laughing by that. But
The systems that I wrote back in 1993 and 4 on Descent, those kind of worked okay.
Yeah.
I knew what I was doing. New stuff was challenging. I hadn't shipped code since 2001, and I hadn't shipped much code since 1998. So yeah, skills atrophy. But I think being a general manager, I hope we'll see what happens in a couple of years. But I think those skills don't atrophy quite as rapidly. I don't know how
Right.
people my age program here, but
Yeah.
well, actually none of them are my age.
So that's
But there are
exactly right.
people that are not. There are probably people that were my age when I was grinding on overload. So
I mean,
anyway,
Absolutely.
good for them.
Yeah, I gotta say, like, real quick, you saying that about the age of the programs that are here right now, like, I'm only 30, like, and was working with a programmer on some things, like, a month or so ago, and, like, I was just, like, referencing, like, something, like, engine tools from, like, an earlier game. He's like, oh, I was in middle school when that game was out. I don't know what you're talking about. I was like,
Oh, that's fun.
what?
Yes. These things happen.
It's downhill when
I'm
you
trying
hit
to
30.
figure out. So 1995. Don't want to make too much of your age, but that was
Uh-huh.
24 years ago. So
Yeah, I was in kindergarten. Or first
Wow.
grade. Yeah, so, oh no.
Wow. When you
But-
put it that way.
Yeah, but I mean, like, obviously there's like a ton of history here just with the two of you on that couch, like with Volition. So I think, yeah, like going all the way back to the start, the first game that like this studio technically put out was Descent back when it was Parallax.
yeah, Parallax was the first company that I founded with Matt Toshlag. Descent was our first game, and what was it? 8 people? 8 people on the team, plus a loaner from Interplay, 9 people. Jim was a tester.
Yeah. At Interplay.
And at Interplay Productions, our publisher, and we shipped that game in about 20 months. I don't want to talk about Overload too much, but we shipped that game faster than it took us to ship Overload. And in some ways that makes sense, and in some ways it's impossible to understand. So Descent did really well, and Matt and I, who go back to the 80s, we couldn't agree on where to locate the company. So fortunately, because Descent did well and Interplay wanted to, signed another deal with us and was very happy with how Descent was going, we were able to form 2 companies. So I formed Volition in Champaign, and Matt and some of the guys went to Ann Arbor and formed Outrage Entertainment. The next game we worked on was Descent 2. It was supposed to be Descent CD enhanced. I don't know if you remember that.
Do you remember that?
Because CDs were the big thing, so that, cutscenes and Redbook audio. And they said, no, we think it should be Descent 2. And we thought, that's that's not right. It started life as what would add-on packs that were called?
Yeah,
like that?
right.
Yeah, add-on pack. You can't turn that into a full-blown game. But we did it, and we were very happy we did it because it made a lot more money than an add-on pack would have made, and people liked it.
Yeah,
a lot,
it did really
a lot.
and a lot of different partners.
Sometimes
with
the publisher's right.
Yeah.
And they were right in that case. And that happened again many years later. You can talk about that one.
Yeah, right. I remember my earliest memory of Descent was when I was a tester at Interplay, and there was a producer at Interplay, Rusty Buchert, who was the producer of Interplay of Descent.
Rusty,
and
if not for him, we may not be here.
yeah, right. And he, I remember he was talking to me about the game when I was in QA, and he was telling me about this game called Inferno, because originally it was called Inferno before it became Descent. And he's telling me about this game that is a Doom killer. This game is the most amazing thing he's ever seen. And so, back then, we were playing Doom. Like, every day, every hour we weren't testing, we were playing Doom. Was pretty much all we were doing. So I'm thinking, this is going to be the greatest thing I've ever seen. And then I go to his office, and he shows it to me. And because he didn't really understand anything about the industry, because I was just a tester, I'm looking at this thing that's, I think that you guys had put a few months into, and it was... And now when I look at it, I understand what I'm seeing. But 8 months. Okay, I couldn't remember how long it was.
We didn't have an artist until...
That's what it was. Right. It showed to my young eyes in QA. It kind of showed that way, and so I was looking at it, and I'm thinking in my head, Rusty, this is a Doom killer. It was
just all like programmer art.
It's all
still?
programmer art.
Okay.
It's all very crude. It's very early before well before the game was done.
Very slow.
And that was that was the earliest lesson I learned. It's like, oh yeah, games take a little bit to develop, and they actually look a little different as you go through it. And Descent was this huge hit that was done.
Yeah.
It was awesome, but boy, it didn't look like that at first.
No, I wish we probably still have those videos somewhere.
I bet.
I mean, I have a ton of like really old VHSs like in my office right now that are all like, it could be there. Like,
That's how we submitted the game to Interplay, a VHS tape and some paper, with whatever, the development plan and so forth.
I definitely have like all the commercials that were made for Descent 1.
Oh, boy.
Maybe FREESPACE as well.
I don't know. I think we did a trailer for FREESPACE. I don't think we did a commercial. Certainly not like the Descent ones with the celebrities like Jim Harbaugh and Rodney Dangerfield and the big names. All the Alice from Brady Bunch.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh man.
All the names you guys
Jenny
know.
McCarthy.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
I've been finding more and more like really old video from like all production random stuff. I found on a really tiny camera, like 4 like 10 to 20 second clips of people driving around cramped in a car from like 2007, and I think it was people doing location scouting for Steelport, maybe.
Wow.
Yeah,
I could believe it.
I mean, there's a couple
In
people.
Champaign or Chicago?
No, I think it was Chicago.
Pittsburgh
I think
or
it was
Chi- oh,
Chicago
okay,
or
yeah.
Pittsburgh or something. Yeah, it was some city.
That is funny.
I'd like to
It's-
see that.
Yeah, I'll have to show it to you later. It's pretty. It's only like 40 seconds total, but it's pretty funny.
We need to archive that stuff.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, I've been
Some
working on
lasting
some of that.
media.
Yeah, but yeah, you talked about how Parallax split up into 2 studios, and that's where Volition came from. And so Volition's first game was FREESPACE, right?
Yes, the first game that was copyright Volition is FREESPACE.
Yeah.
That shipped in summer of 1998, I believe.
I think that's right. Yeah.
And you were
Yeah.
the producer.
Yeah.
And that's our paths would leave and come back
Exactly.
together at times. But you weren't just a producer; you created missions. On
Yeah,
FREESPACE, didn't you?
in the
You
good old
spent
days
months- yeah.
when you could do that, where you could
Right.
be a producer and a designer.
Yeah.
Can't do that now. But yeah.
Yeah, and you spent quite a few months. In
Yeah, I
Champaign
think
for
3.
that.
I think it was about 3 months
Yeah.
towards the end on that. Yeah.
Yeah,
That was fun. It was some of the funnest times.
It was fun.
It was such a good game.
Incredibly stressful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Not that has changed, but
No kidding.
and then we did FREESPACE 2,
Yeah.
and Interplay. That game finished in 11 months. Interplay asked us to pull in the date
Man.
because they had
They're going
recently gone public,
Yep.
and I guess they didn't have anything for that quarter. So we pulled the game in a month, and it was probably our highest reviewed game
Yeah.
ever.
I think it's 92 Metacritic or
I guess
93, something
yeah,
like that.
That's the
Something
secret,
like
right?
that.
You pull in the game instead
Exactly.
of add time to it.
But there were some really good features added to it also.
It
Like,
was-
we had added nebulas and beam weapons.
Right,
and
the beam weapons that would slice capital ships
Yes.
in two.
It's great
And
stuff.
I think the missions were just better. We hired a writer
That's
instead
right.
of Adam and me doing
Funny how
the
that
writing.
helps, yes.
Mainly Adam. Sorry, no offense, Adam. So I think it was what a sequel should be. It's just
Yeah.
like it's better in
Yep.
almost every way. Unfortunately, I don't understand it, but I don't think Interplay pulled in their marketing plan.
Yeah, not as much.
I don't. I'm not sure what happened there.
I think it was a weird combination of like the marketing didn't hit at the right time.
Yeah.
Plus, because Quake had come out, joysticks weren't as common for
Right.
gamers, and so
Yeah.
mouse and keyboard was more what was going on with Quake.
Yeah.
And you could certainly do that in FREESPACE 2, but that's not the way you would want to play a space sim like FREESPACE 2.
Yeah, I can't.
And I think that
remember.
combination of a few of those factors just made it
Yeah.
tougher. It was reviewed super well and people loved it, but it just,
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Someday,
remember-
FREESPACE 3.
oh man, live the dream one
I
day.
just remember when we did that farewell stream for you, we played a little bit of, I forget which FREESPACE. It was one or, I can't,
I
it might have
think
been
it was
two.
one. It wasn't
Was it
two.
one?
I can't remember which one it
Yeah,
was
I
either.
don't,
think
I don't
it might
remember
have-
now.
Yeah.
But I do remember because it's just like in the old stream setup, it was just like you doing mouse and keyboard, not really a thing you do there. Same with joystick. So it's like, let's see if I can get this game from like 98 or 99 to run on a 360 controller.
I remember
and
that.
It kind of.
It wasn't bad. It wasn't
that
bad.
bad. It
yeah.
seems like a game that could totally be adapted to that
Yeah.
control scheme. Like if you had more capabilities.
Well, part of it
change
was that it was a 90s space sim, which
Yeah.
means that we had of the keyboard, practically every key had a function. You didn't
Yeah.
have to use
Yeah.
all of them,
Yeah.
but pretty much everything had a function, and so that, of course, would not translate to a 360 controller.
Right.
But all the main things that you need worked on that, and
Yeah.
it felt good.
Did those games come with like a keyboard overlay?
It did. It
Yeah.
totally did.
Okay, 'cause I was
Right, I'd
gonna
forgotten
say-
The
about that.
old-fashioned
Yeah.
keyboard
Yeah,
overlays.
it
Yep.
felt like that would be one of those games that just
That's exactly right. Yep.
But
Wow, all the
yeah,
stuff I forgot.
I know. I think they were cardboard ones. They weren't there were some that were the super spiffy plastic ones
Yeah.
that would go over a keyboard, and so it would like literally overlay over the keys. I think ours were the cardboard one that would kind of,
okay.
circle the keys and
Yeah.
have little diagrams on it and stuff, if I remember right. Boy,
Yeah.
that's
Do
a long
either
time
of
ago
you,
now. I'm trying to remember exactly how that went, but
Do either of you remember like around that time how big the studio was? How many people were working there?
When we shipped FREESPACE 2,
yeah.
there were probably, so that would have been 99.
99, yeah.
So there were probably about low 20s people on the FREESPACE 2
Yeah.
team.
Okay.
We had already started the RPG, which became
Yeah,
Summoner.
yeah.
and was the first title we published.
And
with-
Descent 4,
and
right?
Descent 4.
Yeah, Descent 4,
So,
of course,
right.
yeah.
So Outrage Entertainment was doing Descent 3.
Yeah.
And we thought, well, these games, it takes a long time to make these things, so let's overlap the development, which was the first time we did that,
Yeah.
actually, I guess, and it helped that it was two different studios. So Descent 3 got very strong reviews and did not sell very well, unfortunately, and then Interplay didn't really want to do Descent 4. And we had a contract to do Descent 4, and I guess the role-playing game would have been an Interplay title.
Right.
But at that same time, I think Interplay things were getting tougher
Yeah.
over there, and I mean, you would know better than I did.
Yeah, it was rough.
Yeah, so we didn't. We had a contract, but if they didn't want to do Descent 4, that was one of the games under the contract, and in the end, I think they were okay with us looking for another publisher. And they had good things going on too. They were the BioWare Baldur's Gate.
Oh, yeah,
So
absolutely.
they had some big successes
They
then
did.
too.
They had a ton.
And so I
A lot of the developers that you all would know came from Interplay.
Yeah.
Blizzard came from Interplay.
Yeah.
BioWare came from Interplay. Volition,
Really?
of course.
I didn't know that.
Treyarch came from Interplay.
Wow,
I mean,
okay.
Like a lot of big ones.
I mean, I do remember like
They all got their starts at Interplay.
I do remember like anytime I played a PC game as a kid, like almost every time I would see like the Interplay
Yeah,
like
it
logo,
was-
like it's yeah.
It was good stuff.
the
It was-
opening movie, it's really cool. The first
Yeah.
time you
Oh,
see
yeah,
that
the-
thing
the
engraved,
gold
it's not
rocket.
cool.
I,
The
was,
80th
I
time you see
completely
it.
Yeah.
agree, especially yes.
Yeah, forced cutscenes
Yeah.
that you can't, or whatever,
Yep.
intros.
That's why we loved the Fallout one, because they got to change that opening one for
Yeah.
theirs. They customized
Oh,
it
that's
in
cool.
that Fallout style.
Yeah.
We all loved that. And then all of us wanted to do that for all of our games, and we were forbidden from it. No, they get to do
man.
it, not the rest of you.
Yeah, so now we do it with our Volition logo.
Yeah, exactly. You're right.
yeah.
But then, we started looking for a publisher, and you were, when did
I was still at Interplay as you guys were shopping Summoner around.
Okay.
And then you guys ended up signing at THQ, and then I think it was a few months later was when I ended up leaving Interplay to go to THQ to be the producer
The
for
other side
Summoner.
of Los Angeles.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, that commute was not fun. And then I think it was not too many months after that then we brought Descent 4 over, which became Red Faction.
Yeah, that was quite remarkable. So,
Right.
and it was also about the time when budgets were clearly getting larger. Well, they always got larger, but
Yeah.
it was getting a little bit scary.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I also thought I don't make games anymore. I don't even I'm like 2 steps removed from the game.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be closer to making the games. So we started talking to THQ about buying Volition. THQ had acquired a couple of studios at that time, and it was their strategy to acquire more. And they also wanted to do original content.
Yep.
And they wanted to control that. So we talked about, we were getting pretty close, I thought, to a deal to sell the company. I don't remember when it was. But I get a phone call from Jeff Lappin one day saying, I don't think it's going to work out. Oh, really? And I didn't want to act, disappointed or anything like that, because
Yeah.
that would be weak. And he says, we'll keep working together, but I don't think this is going to work out. And then the next Monday, they released some revised earnings in the stock creators, and it was an all-stock deal.
Oh, man.
And it rebounded remarkably quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it was the same calendar year.
Yeah, it was 2000, I think,
August
right?
31st of 2000 was the closing date
Yeah,
on the
right.
transaction, so I think that was March. Could go look at the stock chart
Yeah.
and say that's when it was.
Red Faction would have been the month after that then.
Well, Red Faction came out in 2000.
Oh, you're right. Yeah,
Yeah.
2001.
Yeah,
That's
Summoner
right.
was
Of course.
2000.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
October 2000 was a launch title for the
Right.
PlayStation.
So we had this crazy fire drill to get the deal done on time. They
PlayStation 2,
wanted to. August 31st was the date they wanted, and I think I only told one person in the studio what was going on until. So I mean, I'm doing all this stuff by myself, and a lot of it in the evening. And not that there weren't plenty of people in the evening, but there were fewer people there in the evening, and just giving them all this information. And so the deal closed on August 31st, and I announced to the company I sold the company. I sold the company to THQ, and this is good news, and you're all going to get a raise, you're all going to get stock options, and it worked out extremely
Yeah.
well.
I think it helped on the THQ side that's right, because if it was that time frame, we had already done Summoner and Red Faction.
Yeah.
It was, Summoner was amazing as a launch title. So imagining doing an RPG for a launch title for a new platform, it was for PlayStation 2, and it is, to do an RPG as it is kind of nuts.
Yeah.
To do the RPG for the first time, and never having worked on an RPG before was challenging.
Yeah.
Right.
And then for it to then be a launch title, I remember Sony was telling us like we it's great that you guys are trying to target launch. That's cute, but obviously that's not going to happen. So, but that's great if you want to try to attempt it and pulled it off. It's unbelievable. Pulled it off.
Our first console game.
But yeah, exactly, and that's right. And first console on top of it all.
None of the other ones got ported by that point yet?
Yes, we didn't do it
Descent.
though.
Oh, you
Descent
didn't
got
do it.
ported,
Yeah,
but we
it
didn't do the
That's
work
right.
on it.
Okay.
For PlayStation
I think
1.
we created we modified the levels, but
Yeah.
we didn't do any. We
Schlegel did. Schlegel went to Japan to
You're right.
do the
You're
render, right?
We did.
Or-
We helped on it.
Yeah, I was helping
But
on it.
Do either of you remember any like potential work being done in like trying to port one of those first games to the Sega Saturn? Because
Yes.
I have the dev kit Saturn in my
Really?
office still. Yeah, yeah, I still have
First
it.
game I ever produced was a Saturn game,
Okay.
and I have fond memories of that platform.
Yeah, it's like the whole like it's the Saturn with the big cart with the big cables coming out to like
I
the
know
giant
exactly the
like
one you're
40
talking about.
pound black like just brick underneath it. Yeah, it's
we were working on porting Descent to the Saturn. I kind of forgot about
I
that.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
you know what? I think I even have some like old DAT tapes with like Saturn stuff. I don't know if it's
Wow.
Saturn stuff or it was just files from like like source code or something. So it's like a big box like just DAT tapes, just like Descent 1 out of 3000 or whatever.
Oh, that's amazing.
Or
I had no
something,
idea.
Yeah,
I vividly remember
forgot.
for the
I
PlayStation
truly
1, but
forgot.
I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like especially looking at like the first like multiple games that was released by Volition. Each one is just like one year after another.
that was
like,
amazing. Right, we shipped
I know. It's,
in 95, 96. We didn't ship in 97.
Right.
Yeah.
98, 99,
99.
2000, 2001.
Boy.
6 games in 7
That's
years.
nuts.
Yeah, Red Faction.
Now we
was,
ship
Yeah.
2 games in 7 years if
Yeah.
we're lucky.
Like
God.
Red Faction was 2001. Like,
Yeah.
Yep.
So I mean, I'm
April of
guessing
2001,
that
that was-
development was happening concurrently.
It
Right?
was.
Yeah.
Different
Two
teams.
different
Or was there
teams.
Yeah, it was
overlap?
funny because it was kind of a rivalry too.
Yep. That's
Really?
well,
Yeah.
yep.
Huh.
Yeah, we don't have to talk about dirty laundry. But it was...
It was a lot for everyone to feel proud of, especially because I feel like, Summoner is as an RPG console launch, that's ridiculous to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And then you've got Red Faction, which was, started its life as Descent 4, then became a different, a first-person shooter.
Right.
And then had, Destruction, which at the time was totally new, nothing like that in the industry.
So was
and
there-
even the name, even just changing it from Descent, I
Right.
remember when. Here's a fun story.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
how the origin of the name Red Faction, because there's actually a story that was written around that, but it didn't actually work that way. It started off where it was Descent 4, and so then they had to try to figure out what the new story was going to be, as I recall. But Interplay maintained rights to Descent,
Yeah.
so it couldn't be like even if we wanted to, it couldn't be Descent 4. So then it had to have a new name, and so the group of Volition was trying to figure out like what new name should there be. And they came up with the name Red for it because it's set on Mars and red, and it's like that simplicity
Yeah.
of that. And this is back in the era of Doom and Quake. Those one word names are really cool. So
Yeah.
so they presented it, and then I took it off to legal at THQ, and they said Red, absolutely not. You can't trademark that. That's just it's too simple a name. We can't use this name. So it's
Yeah.
like, oh man, so I've got to be the bearer of bad news. I've got to tell the guys we can't do Red. So okay, can't be Red. So then went back to the drawing board. They came up with a bunch of new names, and they finally had a new hit name. And you could probably see where this is going because they told us Faction. We want the name of the game will be Faction, and that's the name. And so I took that thing to legal and got the same exact response.
Yeah.
This will not work. You cannot call the game Faction. We can't trademark it. It won't work. They were very conservative on that, and then it was I cannot remember who it was in marketing at THQ. He was the one that came up with the idea of, well, what if you put the names together and call it Red Faction? And then it clicked. And then a story started to evolve from the name Red Faction, which it just cracks me up to think that's
There were people
all from a
at
name.
Volition didn't like the name Red Faction. Although
remember
there were probably
Huh.
some who did. But I remember some people refused to call it Red Faction.
Yeah.
They would call it Faction,
Actually-
but they would not say Red Faction because they hated the name. But I think once the game went out, and
Then it became okay to call it, yeah.
like I never know what I think of the names of our games, even the name of the company, until it takes a while.
It does
for
to
get
soak
used
in.
to. I think Descent's a
Yeah.
great name.
I got it totally, especially
like
for what its
FREESPACE
gameplay is.
Yeah, the first
One of the-
FREESPACE had Descent on the title.
Yeah, oh
right?
yeah, we hated that.
That's a whole
Oh,
nother
okay.
story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That might be a fun one
ironically,
for another time, but yeah, that's
but it wasn't Descent Free Space in the
Right.
UK. It was Conflict Free Space
Yep.
because Descent didn't do well in
Right.
the UK.
Yeah.
I
So
vaguely
now
remember
they gave
that.
our game 2 different names. So it
Yeah, the full name was Descent,
colon
Free Space, The Great War.
Yes.
And then, as you say, in the UK, it was Conflict, Free Space, The Great War.
Yeah.
Just as if that title wasn't,
So I
bizarre
think we
enough.
were right to not like those titles.
Very much.
But
Yeah.
Yeah, especially for all the Descent fans that eagerly
Yeah.
like, oh, cool, a new Descent game.
Yeah.
No, this isn't a Descent game at all.
yeah,
Well, it's the Descent universe at least. Like, nope, not the Descent universe either.
yeah.
Nothing to do with Descent.
Yeah, it. Anyway, it established itself, and then with
Yeah.
Free Space 2. So after those, so then we did sequels to Summoner 1 and Summoner 2.
Yep.
Summoner 2 didn't do that well, and so it was decided that we're not going to. There won't be a Summoner 3. And Red Faction 2 did quite well.
Yeah.
The lore around it is that it did not do well. It was. I don't know. Some people thought it was a bad game. If you look at the reviewers didn't think it was a bad
Yeah.
game. It was quite profitable, and I don't really remember why. But THQ wanted to give it a rest.
Yeah, I think that they thought or hoped that it would have sold maybe a little more than it did. So they were still very satisfied with it. It still sold a lot of units. It just they were hoping that maybe it could have sold even more.
So they
I
wanted
think
us-
was what it was.
yeah,
And so then let it
establish a new
breathe a little bit.
franchise.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we worked on a few things that never saw the light of day.
Yeah.
Underground. Mainly that one. We put a lot
Yeah.
into that. And
A couple of licensed ones that
what
you guys took a crack at.
The Punisher. I
Yeah,
forgot.
well, and even independent of that one, of before it even got to Punisher, there were a couple of opportunities from Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah.
have
Do you
footage
Do you?
of that stuff. Very small amount. We'll talk about it more for
Yeah,
future
that'd be a
streams.
fun one for a future one.
Yeah,
to
for
dive
future
into.
streams and stuff, we've shown old versions of our old builds of our games, and content from some cut stuff. We still have other games that we shopped around that never went anywhere that we have not shown. Some I don't think if you go to the Wikipedia page for Volition, there's some canceled games listed there, but there's some that that page does not have.
Yeah.
There's
Well, we should edit
2
our
or 3.
Wikipedia page.
Yeah, seriously. Or one of you can. No, don't do that.
We worked on a couple of very large franchise.
Yeah.
Well, we submitted a
Right.
demo, a trailer, or a demo.
Yeah, demo.
Both cases.
Yeah,
Actually.
exactly.
Right. Yeah, it's amazing how fast this stuff
Ultra close on
come
one of them.
together.
Yeah. And I don't know because right now, with the games and stuff, the games we're talking about, still early 2000s. Was this around the same time that you, Jim, worked in that Evil Dead game?
Yeah, it would have been actually. Yeah, I didn't work on the first Evil Dead game. So THQ, like Mike said, they're starting to get into more original titles, and Evil Dead was a license they got that was admittedly was a license, but it was considered something more like an original title just because it's a very cool license, especially for a lot of us who loved Evil Dead.
Right.
And it was the first one was done by Heavy Iron.
Yeah,
I think
Heavy
it was.
Iron.
Yeah, exactly. And it didn't do as well as they hoped it would. So they did a second one, and that one also did not do as well as they hoped. But I was helping out on that second one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did Bruce Campbell actually
Yes.
voice?
He
in that
sure
game?
did.
I
Yes.
figured he would. He seems like the dude
Yep.
that
He did for both.
yeah. that's
Coolest
what I
guy in the
thought.
world.
I bet. But yeah. Oh, and also, we just got a message from Mike. We can say what some of those games we shopped around were.
Okay.
We can.
The two I'm thinking of specifically was
See if you have them.
a Harry Potter game,
Yep.
Yeah.
and the other
Correct.
one was Batman.
That's
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
Yep, those were the two I was thinking of.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've been digging around trying to find stuff for those two things, see if we can ever show them. And I found a couple things. I found a very, very, very early test cutscene for Batman. It's really early. It's just a Batman's supposed to be repelling and kicking a dude in the face from swinging around, but
I know
Batman
exactly the
is
shot you're talking about.
Batman is incredibly small for some reason. I do not know why. But
That
he's
doesn't
very
sound
small.
what I remember, but yeah.
Yeah, but there's also a really early just engine test or something for Harry Potter that I found.
Yep. That was one where it was there were every publisher in the world
Yeah.
basically
I
was
bet.
going for that.
I bet.
And THQ was one of the publishers who was going for it and reached out to Volition to do something for it. And
We were
I think it was in a
independent. I
couple
think we were
weeks.
still
right?
independent
Was
at
that?
the time.
I think that might
We
be
never got
actually.
paid for that.
Oh man, we should go after THQ. Oh wait, they're
New
not
THQ.
around anymore. Yeah, do they
We'll go
assume
through
the
the
same
nearest-
burden?
yeah,
I don't know.
Um,
But yeah, it
never
was.
got
I,
paid.
I want to say you guys spent a few weeks
Yeah,
on it.
and it
only,
was
so
right
it
around.
was
It
very
was just
fast.
before Christmas, is my
Ah,
recollection.
that's right. And they used the Summoner engine for it.
Yes, we did.
Summoner 1.
And I remember I read maybe it was only three
Right.
novels in like 4 days.
Jesus, to try to absorb as much of it.
Understand this thing.
Yeah, I remember it came down to two publishers. At the end of the day, it was EA who ultimately got it, and THQ. And apparently, at least the story within THQ, at least at the time, was that it was apparently a long debate for Warner Brothers to decide who would do it. Because on the one hand, the thought was EA will do an amazing job, the quality of their games, putting the whole, the might of the EA publisher behind it would be huge. But on the other hand, here's scrappy THQ with this cool demo, because EA didn't have any code or anything like that.
Right.
They were just talking about what it could be.
Yeah, and like
here's
this-
THQ that's showing up, where they actually brought, apparently, like famously to the meeting, all of our executives at THQ showed up with owls. They all had cages with their own owl
What?
that they showed
Really?
up with.
Live owls?
Live
Live
owls.
owls? I did
not
That's
know.
correct. Yes,
Okay.
they brought live owls. I believe they had robes.
Oh my God.
And they brought code.
So you're talking
Like,
Jeff Lapp and Brian Farrell?
Yes.
Okay. I'd love to see
Jermaine
the video of
Joya.
that. Okay.
Yeah,
Whoa.
I think Ellison Locke was still, if I remember correctly, and yeah, so Warner Brothers was blown away, because here are all these very professional executives who are coming in, and they're bringing in owls, and they're wearing robes, they're bringing in code. Look at this game. I mean, there wasn't a ton to the game; it was only a couple
Yeah.
weeks, but it was more than anyone else had
something.
done, and so
Yeah.
so that was apparently what caused them to debate for quite a long time, or quite a long meeting, I think, in the order of weeks or something thereabouts, and ultimately THQ lost out on it. But just the fact that you could go up against EA, and particularly at that point,
That's
when
crazy.
EA was truly the peak of their
Yeah, like I
of
know,
their-
I know THQ like rounded up a ton of licenses for like more kid-oriented like
Yeah.
properties
Yeah.
and stuff. but
Nickelodeon
I had
stuff.
no
yeah,
idea.
right.
Oh yeah. Real quick, like you mentioned, like the executives coming with live owls. Were there any other like pitches like that where people were pulling off stunts like that, or was that like a really unique thing that
That-
you've never
that
heard
was
anyone else
unique.
doing?
Yes.
Okay.
Costumes and live animals.
Yep.
That was unique.
Yes, I
No,
can't
no
think of
tigers jumping through flaming hoops or anything.
I can't think of anything any publisher I've ever been to that would envy anything close to that.
That's crazy.
I think
Yeah.
it was also just the mania of Harry Potter at that point, and not like it didn't continue to grow
Right.
and grow, but just that it was, people would have given their left arm for that, to have to be able to just
Yeah.
work in that world and be able to to share some creativity in that. So I think everyone was willing to go however far it would take.
Yeah, and so like
Punisher, yeah, no one was dressing up in tactical gear, and I mean, it's a hell of a license. I'm not saying that that there's
Yeah.
anything wrong with it, but just that was a little different than say, Harry
Right.
Potter.
And that
Yeah.
was the only license we wound up shipping, so we were not that close to pitches like that
Right.
for an existing IP. Everything else we did after that was a created IP.
Yeah.
yeah, and like with the Punisher, that's the first game like on this whole list of releases so far. It was actually like a bit of a gap. It's like a 3-year gap between that and Red Faction 2.
Yeah.
Was that like a really long development for the Punisher, or is it just because there's also that time spent working on those other projects?
There's
that didn't
canceled
go?
titles in
Yeah.
there. Underground, I don't know, 2
Yeah.
years on that maybe? And
Probably
Okay.
something like that, I bet.
I think the Batman demo was built on
It was.
Underground.
That's exactly right, yeah.
Yeah.
So we were doing Punisher and Underground. They were overlapping. And when Underground got canceled, that probably had 40 people on it, I'm guessing. And
That could
there
be
were
right.
I don't know what, 8 to 10 teams formed of 3 or 4 people. And they just came up with pitches. And the one that
Right.
the one that made it was Bling Bling, which became Saints Row. And we put together, a vision trailer, I guess you would call it?
Yeah. Rip-o-matic vision trailer. Or
Yeah, just clips from movies. And
Oh, yeah.
can't say the song because...
No, I wouldn't.
but
Oh yeah, no.
So
I know
we,
it's like-
yeah.
yeah.
and then we pitched it in the boardroom.
The executive boardroom at THQ.
At THQ, and so that would have been 2004, 2003 maybe.
I was gone by
Because it
that point. I
shipped
think
in
it was
6.
2004, because I think I
Okay.
was gone by the point.
And the CFO at the time said, after we show everything, it was really just like a 2-minute trailer, He said, I don't
Great
think we should
gangster.
make games like
Yeah.
this. Gangs are a serious problem. We live in L.A. or, 4
Close
suburbs
enough,
out,
yeah.
and I don't think we should make games like this. And Brian Farrell said, I think somebody's going to make this game. It's going to be successful. I think it should be us. And that
Brian,
was
the
that.
CEO of
Brian,
THQ,
yeah.
he was the head
Yeah.
of the company.
It's a good call,
Yeah.
and good for us because we really needed a success. And that was, I would say, the hardest development cycle that's ever occurred and ever will occur, I think, at Volition. It was really painful, and a lot of people didn't believe in the game at the end. Part of it, I think, is you're so close to it.
Yeah.
You see your stuff. You see everything that's wrong with it.
Yeah,
And, there
always.
was buggy things. There were.
Yeah, some of those
there were things
videos,
wrong with
yeah.
it, but there was
Yeah.
enough good in it that it was very successful.
Yeah.
And it was critical to the success of the studio. We really needed that game
Yeah.
to go like it did. And then we were developing Red Faction Guerrilla at that time.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And there was a lot of overlap with those two titles. And that was our longest development cycle ever. It was a very small
Yeah,
team.
yeah.
Okay.
And
So that explains why Saints Row 2 came out.
Exactly.
beforehand.
Right.
That's exactly
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Yep.
we released 2
Yeah.
Saints Rows before Red Faction Guerrilla
The
came
technology of GeoMod 2.0 is just ridiculous, and I
Yeah.
think it took
I
every
bet.
bit of that time to
Yeah.
get that to do what it was capable of.
out. And that was, I thought, a great game.
Yeah. Boy.
And I think the team, I know, is very proud of it. It got great reviews, and it didn't sell well. And I did. We still did Red Faction Armageddon, which also got very strong reviews and didn't sell well.
Yeah. And we in the past we've done an RFG stream in several years ago where we talked about the reasons why that Armageddon changed the direction.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we had a whole stream of it's up on our YouTube channel too. People don't know the story, but
No.
aliens.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
but yeah, I just want to say I really like RFG. It might be my favorite game from this studio.
You have
It's a
good
great
taste.
game.
Thank you. I love RFG, man. But
And then I left, and Jim, you
That's
came
right.
back in 06.
I
You
came-
came back at the Saints Row 1 launch party.
That's
That was
exactly
your
when I
first
came
day in
back.
town.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
That was. You didn't tell anyone else that I was coming back.
Yeah.
And so I just showed up at the launch party for Saints Row 1, and I would walk up to people and just kind of stand there and wait for them to notice me. And then eventually they'd look, and you could see the first step was recognition, like, oh, that's Jim, of course. And then it's like, wait, Jim? And then, what are you doing here? I'm like, oh, well, of course, why would I ever miss a launch party? I've been to all the other ones. Why would I miss this one? And then I tell them, like, no, I'm coming to work at Volition now.
Yeah, that was great. That was the third connection. So there was the early interplay days, the THP
Yeah, right.
days, and then the
Yeah,
and
then
and
round
the
1
same
of Volition, and then
Yeah.
and then I left and came back for round 2 of Volition.
Yeah.
I
So-
can't stay away.
Yeah.
so yeah, after Armageddon is where that's Saints Row the Third.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our most successful title
Yeah.
ever, certainly economically.
Yeah.
And I left so that shipped in, September of 11?
I believe that's November.
later.
November
November
11.
11,
Yes,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
I went up against a bunch of heavy hitters at that same
Yeah.
time, and more than hold its own.
Yeah. So I left before our most successful game launch ever, which is good because
Coincidental only.
I didn't. Yeah, got me out of the way. Obviously you want things to go successfully afterwards, and it sure did. It was great. And then you were
Big tone change on that one.
Yeah.
From 2
Yeah.
to 3.
Yeah.
That was where very similar still, but just that was where all those extra just the silly and the more over the top,
Yeah.
capitalizing on some of the things that people were enjoying about Saints Row 1 and 2. And that was definitely fully manifested in Saints Row the Third.
One of the many cool things about coming back here after being gone so long is seeing all of that Saints Row 3 art, the promotional materials.
was
I
so
thought it was
good
all brilliant.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just so unifying, and
Yep.
it just had a look of
Fantastic.
cool to it.
Petrol did all that stuff,
Yeah.
and it's just beautiful.
It's great.
I don't know if we've ever shared any of those on any streams or anything like that, but that would be some fun
I
stuff
don't
to
think
share
we
one
have.
day.
Should walk around with a handheld camera.
Yeah, well,
Cover
in
up a lot
certain
of
areas
stuff
only.
and-
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
There are secretive things we do here.
Mike, before you left, that in the lobby on the 3rd floor, we just have that big shelf full of just memorabilia from all the
Yeah.
games. Was that there back then too?
Yeah, it was.
Was it just
I think
not as full back then, but
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really crammed in there, which is kind of neat. It's
Yeah.
almost like you're
Yeah.
in someone's basement looking at all of their
I mean,
stuff.
we
Yes.
still have like that 40
ounce
that
is still there.
Yeah, the 40 ounce is still
It
there,
is.
and it
That's
like
disgusting.
Boy,
It's
it
separated.
it looks disgusting.
we've talked
yeah.
about if that thing ever falls and shatters,
Oh, man.
it's probably time to
Call
get a
in
new
hazmat,
floor at
yeah.
that point. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
It'll just eat through and go to the
Yes.
second floor
Yeah,
of the building.
it'll be
or
like watching
something.
Aliens or something like that.
Oh man.
Or someone will drink it on a dare. Hopefully not.
Dear God, I hope not. Yeah, because we're going straight to the hospital afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's cool to see all that stuff there.
Yeah, it is. There's a lot of
Yeah.
cool stuff there.
And one thing like we really don't want to forget about because we got ahead of ourselves. We didn't talk too much about Saints Row 2.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's Saints Row 2. I have to say, like, real quick too, is like, unfortunately, one of the few games from the studio I haven't like played all the way through yet, and so I can't see the chat right now, but I'm sure everyone's going to yell at me to play it.
It is
soon.
awesome. I remember playing through Saints Row 1 all the way through the first time, and then I got to the last mission, which is
Yeah.
one of the hardest missions I've ever played. Thanks, Sandeep. You keep that difficulty up.
Harder is better.
Oh
yeah.
my lord! And then Saints Row 2 was amazing. Saints Row 2, I feel like, was the game where the team tried to do everything. It was it was more of what worked on Saints Row 1. It was enhancing it with co-op. I mean, my God, adding co-op adding in flying. These are two major features that go in. And then something I don't know if a lot of people know about was that the entire world of Stillwater. So Stillwater was the same city as Saints Row 1.
Right.
And so I think for many gamers, you would look at that and say, like, oh, cool, it's Stillwater. You guys, it's the same city, but it's fun. You've expanded on it in areas. They added more spots to it.
Right.
But for much of the city, it was actually redone based upon a new streaming. Like the streaming was much improved because the stuff that was done in Saints Row 1 was a little. It wasn't ideal, and a lot of the frame rate only got, as I understand it, because I wasn't here for that part of it, only kind of got to an acceptable level maybe weeks before submission.
Really?
And
Yeah.
it was pretty terrifying, some of the stuff that they had to do to get it to an acceptable
Well, we
frame
had this
rate.
array of Xbox 360s.
It's exactly crunching.
There's got to be a picture of that somewhere.
I bet there
Yeah,
is.
it was creating the
Mark
visibility
Ellender.
data.
Yep.
Yeah, it.
Yeah, and so for Saints Row 2, we changed everything up to be efficient with this new streaming system that came in, but then it necessitated going into the world and changing it up, and so it still felt like it was still Stillwater. It was recognizably Stillwater,
Right.
but for the hardest core of the fans, I'm sure you guys would know that the streets, if you drive through the streets and you know where the streets are going to go, it changed up between 1 and 2.
Right.
But so point being, there was, never mind a zillion new modes, all kinds of new customization
PlayStation
options. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, PlayStation 3.
PC, but we didn't
yes.
do it. That was outsourced.
Yep.
Right.
It's just, Saints Row 2 was amazing.
Yeah. And I've been
And
informed.
nuts all at once.
Yeah, I've been informed that the chat is giving me shit.
Are they?
I played like half of it, and it's just one of those
Half of
things
it?
about.
You said you didn't finish it.
I didn't finish it.
That implies like you're close, but you
Like
mean you weren't even close.
51%.
Yeah. Keep giving him shit.
I mean, I have a
That's-
huge backlog, and it's always one of the ones that's like, I really got to go back. But maybe
Now
I'll
you
do
got
that
to talk
sooner
to
rather than
Watson
later.
too. You got to keep working with Mike Watson, right?
Yeah.
Does he talk to you?
I'll play
After
co-op
that?
with you.
I mean,
Okay, there we
all
go.
right.
There
Thanks,
you go.
Mike. But yeah, that's the one where like anytime anyone talks it up on the internet or I see footage of this, I'm just like, God, it's like there's always something in there like I didn't know was there. 'Cause it's just like so ridiculously crazy and big.
There are so many guys on the team that will still talk about how when they think back on it and they reflect on everything that
Yeah.
was accomplished on that game, it's like, why did we sign on to do all
Yeah.
of those things? There's just a zillion different things to do in the game.
I will make sure that Josh plays co-op with me through all of SR2
Oh.
soon.
I heard a commitment right there.
Yeah, I
That's
think
what I heard.
I think that's like a thing I got to put on the work schedule now.
Clearly, it's a critical task.
Yeah. So like when all those crazy features are being putting it, like you said, like everyone can't believe they did that. Was it just like did no one realize it was a crazy amount of stuff, or was it just everyone really wanted to do it and no one would say no to putting it in?
I hate to say it, but I think the answer to your questions are yes. It was a little
Okay.
bit of both. It was a little bit of everyone just wanted to put all these things in and didn't quite realize just how
Right.
much they were biting off, combined with everyone still wanted to do all the things.
Okay.
Because, I mean, my Lord, some of the features that, I mean, think about just something as basic, right? Like when you think of the two major ones of flight and co-op, and ordinarily in a game that's an open world game, and you've never done such things before,
Right.
and what it means to the game, that if you just did that and then just kept the scope the same as Saints Row 1,
Right.
I think most gamers would probably look at that and say, this is amazing. I can't believe what the game is like now. And then, but, had big eyes, and we wanted to keep doing more, and so
Right.
we did. I was working on the multiplayer side of that, and even multiplayer, we were trying all kinds of crazy, nutty things that were probably, well, certainly way over scoped, but we were all excited about it, and it was great.
For all
Yeah.
those features, it only took it came out 2 years after Saints
Yeah,
Row 1.
yeah.
And part of that, I think we were working on Saints Row 2 a year before
I
Saints
think
Row
that's
1
right.
shipped.
Yep.
We had a different production team on it. And,
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
Yeah. Yep.
So when Saints Row 2 was wrapping up, was SR3 already in the works, or was it a little bit before?
I think that one was closer to, if I recall. I want to say that Saints Row 3 was
It was
because most of the directors
Right.
came from Saints Row 3 to Saints Row 2 to Saints Row 3.
Right, yeah.
So I think that it was brewing a little bit beforehand, but not nearly as early as say Saints Row 2 was relative to Saints Row 1.
Okay.
If I remember correctly.
And that was 3 years.
Yeah,
apart.
right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. That's the other big thing is we were doing a lot of new engine work on Saints Row 3. So it wasn't just that it was a different city
Right.
and a little bit more of a different tone.
Was it
The
in-
engine was completely, I think it was
Was it entirely
redone.
new? Or was
It
just
may not have been entirely new, but certainly the
Very
tools were, and it was
significantly
very
new. Okay.
significant. Yeah,
Right.
I think the streaming was rewritten. There were a lot of areas of it that were
Yeah.
doing it fresh. So
Yeah. and
taking
Saint-
a lot of the learnings from Saints Row 1 and 2 and applying that then to the engine.
Yeah, and
and
Saints
tools.
Row 3 was just the one that felt like it was the first one that got hit that was super polished feeling.
Yeah.
Because I remember I was in I was still in college when SR3 came out. I was aware of 1 and 2 at that point. I hadn't played much of either of them yet, but 3 was the one that I saw that was I gotta play this.
Yeah.
Although
Yeah.
I do still remember the incredibly good trailer we had for SR2. I'm sure you know which one, the playing with your friends one, or whatever it was.
Yes, I know the one you're talking about.
That,
Yep.
that was the one that made me aware of SR2 and go okay,
Absolutely.
I got to get around to that too.
And Uncle Gary, I'm sure that one was. With Gary
Right.
Busey, that was a big
Gotta see all
draw
these
for you,
again.
I'm sure.
I haven't seen these things in what?
I know in a
Did-
long time, right?
Were either of you around when that stuff was being recorded for any reason?
I was not.
You weren't?
I was
Okay.
not.
I was here, but I was not aware of a lot of the stuff that was going on
Okay.
that. A lot of the marketing materials.
Yeah, a
that were
lot of
being
times
made
marketing, I think, would
of
do
myself going into
network.
the game in Saints Row 1 with
Yeah.
Dan.
That's
I'm
right.
sure-
Yes.
I'm sure there's still somebody
So
around
good.
who must have had some kind of contact with Gary Busey. And
Presumably.
I can't remember if we've actually asked anybody when we streamed SR2 stuff in the past, but I'm gonna have to see if we can find somebody who made contact with him.
I could believe it. And
I just-
then I can only imagine the stories that they would have to tell.
Yeah, because
It's Gary Busey.
yeah, it's just weird. It seems like he's a big professional though. You tell him to do something
Yeah.
it's just he does
Right.
it, but it's
yes.
just
Then he flips the switch and then,
Yeah.
I
Isn't
could
he
totally
the one
believe
who
that.
would refuse to say a line if it had a swear word in it?
Oh, I don't.
I think he was.
Is that
he
right?
Seems like
Was
such
he?
a out there kind
Yeah.
of person, but I think it was him, or I may
That's
have entirely
amazing.
wrong. There was
I like
someone,
that. That's a
but I
better
think-
story
I think
if it
was
is him.
Yeah, we'll
Let's
stick
say
with
it's
that
him.
one.
Yeah.
Someone here knows the truth about
Yeah,
it.
exactly. Someone somewhere.
Yeah, we'll have to ask around. But yeah, I guess this is up to this point in the studio, this is things where some other stuff happens aside from just developing the games, because in between Saints Row 3 and releasing 4, a bunch of stuff happened with the studio.
Yeah, right. With
Yeah.
with THQ and what it went through. Yeah.
And that kind of that affected what Saints Row 4 was, wasn't
Yeah.
it? Isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, so it was on multiple layers on that one. So Saints Row 4, I know that this has been talked about a long time ago. The Saints Row 4 started off as being an expansion pack for Saints Row 3. And the idea for that was that we were going to do superpowers. It was going to be in the Matrix. It was going to have aliens. It was, it was just it was the opportunity to have a lot of fun and do something that was just really different and entertaining. But because of the fact that it was an expansion pack, was the opportunity to do that.
Right.
And then there was a point in time as it was being done where at THQ, Jason Rubin joined as president.
Mm-hmm.
And he was awesome to work with. I mean, talk about a creative guy that really knew his stuff. He was for anyone that doesn't know, and I'm sure you all do, he was the founder of Naughty Dog. So he visited the studio, and he was talking about, he was looking at the game and he saw how many features there were and how cool it was looking, the game being the expansion pack. And I believe he was, if memory serves, I think he was the one that first brought up the question of, why wouldn't you guys turn this into a full game?
Right.
And it was combined with, candidly, the fact that THQ was having financial troubles as well. And so they could have used a full game, but it wasn't trying to force it to be something that it wasn't. It was just, it's like it has all these features. Like, this is a full-featured game. You're just doing this thing as an expansion pack.
Right.
And so the more we all started talking about, the more it was like, that sounds cool. Let's turn it into a full game.
Yeah.
So we did. We took a big step back. We thought about all the missions, the story, the features, and we went for it. We decided to turn it into a full game. And then we were working on that for a while. And then that led to probably the other thing that you're alluding to, which was THQ itself. THQ went bankrupt, and which would have been the December of 2012, I think it is. Mm-hmm. And so then they were, so then it was sort of a very strange period of time for us, at least, because we were, here we are trying to develop, we're working on Saints Row 4. We've got another game in development that's on the side, and our corporate, our entire corporation is bankrupt. Mm-hmm. And so we don't know what that's going to mean. And then they finally decided that they were going to take the company and basically look at various bidders who would come in and see if either THQ could remain whole, but maybe kind of in a different way with a different investor, or that each of the studios might potentially get chopped up and sold.
Yeah.
Of course, that's what ended up happening. And so, but during that phase, yet here we are, and we're in development. We're less than a year away from where we're supposed to be done with the game. And then we have pretty much every publisher you can think of stopping by Volition, and appropriately so, because we're trying to figure out if they want to buy Volition, and they're investigating and they're going through all of our game, and here are your biggest rivals, and you're sitting down and you're showing them every single thing there is to possibly share about your game, your technology, your tools, your employees. You're giving them everything, and it was. Right. I mean, they're all great people. They were all super sympathetic. Like they were all awesome in terms of the way that they treated us. But there's just it's still a very weird experience to sit there and just open up everything to your competitors. Right. And but so it was a weird process, but everyone was cool about it. And then ultimately it was Deep Silver.
Yeah. And
Deep Silver was the one that bid the highest and purchased Volition.
Yeah. And it just seems like it must have been harder to work on the game itself when all that stuff was happening at the same time, because it's just did everything just feel like it was up in the air all the time?
You know what's funny? It's a good question, because that's the thing that I remember the most. And it's one of the areas where I've always been so proud of the studio and the people in the studio. That was one of the times where I was the most proud, because it would have been the easiest thing in the world for everyone on the team to feel uncertain, and to maybe maybe they weren't as focused on the game. Maybe the game didn't progress as much during that phase, and it was almost a total opposite. Everyone, I mean, I'm not saying that no one talked about it or talked with each other, but it was very rare. Like the milestone didn't.
Wow.
It wasn't that altered from going through that. The pace of development didn't change that much. Everyone was just super focused on it. I think part of it was the fact that we felt comfortable as a studio because of both of our legacy. We've had a lot of success out there. Mm-hmm. Part of it was the fact that it's Saints Row 4 that we're working on, and Saints Row is such a successful brand. It's hard to imagine that it wouldn't be purchased by someone who wouldn't want this. It was less than a year away from being complete. So if someone was to buy Volition, they're going to get a game in the not too distant future. They don't have to wonder about years later. Maybe the game is good. They could see the game, and so I think that those things helped the team. But ultimately, it was we just have a lot of awesome people that just they loved the game, and they were just focused on it, and they kept plugging along. It didn't. It's amazing. I couldn't be more proud of them.
People then, I was outside. That was before Revival. I was just goofing off, but I would still talk to a lot of people here, and no one seemed scared. Yeah, they just assumed, we'll land somewhere and we'll finish this game, and that's what happened.
Yeah.
There might have been dicier things behind the scenes, but it did. I mean, the game got done in 2 years, right?
Yep.
And despite things like the bankruptcy occurring, so I think there was a lot of confidence that we're working on something really good. People will see it. We will get bought.
Totally.
And then Deep Silver buys the studio and pretty much leaves you guys alone.
They did.
Right?
Yep. Yeah. So from a marketing standpoint, PR and things like that, they were awesome partners. They worked with us. They helped market the game really well. We put together trailers, all the traditional things that a publisher does. So that
Yeah.
side, they were totally involved and great to work with. But just on a creating the game standpoint, it's exactly as you say. They had faith in us and confidence, and they knew what we were doing. The game was far enough along, and they left us alone and said, "You do this game, and we can't wait for you to finish it up and let us go out there and put it out." And it was
Wow.
and it was great. And then it came out and it did really well. It reviewed awesome. It was it sold lots of units. I'm the person that's always reminding everyone. Came out 3 weeks before GTA 5, a game you may have heard of called GTA 5 that has and still we did good. It was a lot of fun to
Nice.
release that and see the success it had, even when there's these giant games that are coming out.
Yeah.
I think that we had done enough. We had enough fun with what we were doing with Saints Row 4, or really the Saints Row brand as a whole by that point, that we didn't have the same comparisons like Saints Row 1 did to GTA 4, perhaps, and so we were able to kind of coexist, and it did really well.
Nice.
It was very satisfying.
So, like, right when SR4 was done, was it, because I came in a little bit later into production of AOM, like, I think it was still pre-production, but it was still a little bit into it by the time, because I started working here, like April 2015.
Right.
So, like, when SR4 was, like, being finished up, was AOM already an idea that was being worked on?
It sure was,
Okay.
yeah. So there was a game, in fact, it was only a couple months after Deep Silver bought Volition, the AOM took off. So
Right.
it was before there was a game that we were working on. I guess we're able to talk about some of our older games that didn't.
I think this is one we've mentioned before.
We talked about
too.
with Zeus.
Yeah.
It was So there was a
Yeah.
game called Zeus that was I think that game was going to be killer, but it was a really cool game called Zeus that was being worked on, and then it ended up shifting into AOM, not as a property. We ended up shifting to a completely different game called
Right.
Agents of Mayhem, and the idea was that there were so many cool ideas in Agents of Mayhem that started developing that people had the idea of wanting to shift to that game. Rather than Zeus was awesome, but people were super excited about AOM. And so that's what ended up going into, and like I say, so that would have been probably somewhere in the neighborhood of March of 2013, I think it was. So,
Okay.
So yeah, it would have been a little while before you started. But I mean, that's the conceptualization phase. So it's coming up with just super high level ideas of what the game even could be.
Totally. And, like, at the very start of that type of stuff, only, like, a handful of people in the studio are working on that.
Exactly right. Yep.
It's just like, there isn't enough work for people to do at the very start.
Yes, that's exactly
Got to
right.
come up with the
And-
ideas before you can make them.
Yep. And along with that, another big initiative that was going on within the studio was, once again, revamping our tools and technology.
Yeah.
We spend a lot of time on our tools and technology at Volition just because the sheer number of people that we have working at Volition compared to some of our competitors who make open world games.
Right.
Our tools are pretty amazing, the stuff that our folks do to put that together. And so it was, once again, was an opportunity to take a step back, think of the tools, think of the engine, and revamp it. And that was happening at the same time. So you could almost say that there were 3 different games that were being done, or 3 different projects. It was Saints Row 4 was being done, Agents of Mayhem was getting conceptualized,
Yeah.
and then there's a big initiative from our central technology group to do all this new engine and tech
Right.
and tools.
Yeah, and, like, the same time, even though, like, a few people from the studio worked on it, we also had High Voltage working on Get Out
That's
of Hell.
right. Yeah.
Oh my God, we have the internet behind us all of a sudden.
Oh,
I
look
was
at
wondering what was
this.
going on there.
Future is
I love
now.
technology.
I like this.
It is technology.
Absolutely. Yes.
Oh, we're into
That looks
technology.
that looks a little bit like Red Faction Armageddon to some of those movements like that. But
Oh,
anyway.
yeah, totally. Yeah. This is why we got
Yeah,
the green
yeah.
screen behind us,
Yeah.
just so that we can have dumb crap behind us. Mostly.
Absolutely.
It's not like a super useful functional thing. It's just like, yeah,
Absolutely.
stock footage. But yeah, I'm. Who do you remember who worked on Get Out of Hell from here?
I do.
was-
It was myself and Kate Nelson.
Okay.
That's it, 2 people?
It was, yeah, and then we got some great assists from Brian Dillo, who was our lead mission designer on Saints Row 2, 3, and 4. I can't remember if he was in 1 as well. He helped us with advisory. Like he spent a fair amount of time like going through the game
Right.
and creating feedback. And then Steve Jarros, who was the creative director back then of Volition, who's also the writer of Saints Row 1, 2, 3, 4. And he helped write the story for GAT. He helped do a bunch of work on that. Larry Gates did. He wrote the really cool musical that we put together.
Yeah.
Ev did a bunch of help with the cinematic. So yeah, there are a number of other people throughout the studio that helped on it in
Right.
smaller doses, but day to day. But they were all also working on AOM or CTG engine, and so we didn't spend a lot of their time on it. And
Okay.
so the more full time aspect was me and Kate on
Okay.
that one.
Right.
And it was fun. It was great to work with the high voltage guys. They were the ones who developed it. So they were the ones who did the lion's share of the work on Saint Trogat.
Right, because they're pretty close by.
They
too,
are.
right?
They're in Chicago. Yep.
Yeah, so I mean.
Yeah,
like
but
I
once a
said,
month we drive out there, and it's close enough.
Yeah.
It's about 2.5 hours away from Champaign, so it was easy enough for us to drive up there and meet with them, take a look at the milestone, give them feedback.
Right. Yeah, it makes it sound like it just seems like it was probably a lot easier to do that stuff than with a lot of other games. Even like games like our own games we've worked on, where it's like a lot of stuff you have to fly to the West Coast for a lot of things.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Fly to other countries and
Yeah. Being
Yeah.
in Central Illinois, there's
Yeah.
there's typically not a lot of other developers that are easy driving distance, but
Right.
those guys were, which was great.
Cool. And yeah, I guess we've kind of looped all the way back to the present here, all the way up to AOM and stuff. And I guess, we're still working on stuff. The year and a half that we weren't
Right.
streaming, everyone else who is still here has been working away and stuff. Like you said, sometimes we just work on tools and all that. And we can't say much of anything at the
No.
moment, but
We could, but we would get
we could, but
killed
it
or
would
just
fired.
get-
I'm not sure which,
or
or
we
both.
get deleted before.
Yes, that's true. That's
yeah,
right. Yeah.
I would the keyboard.
Watson
right
has his finger poised right now to just
Yeah, the
he's
keyboard
just
right
gonna
out of
kill
frame.
this thing. Yeah,
to my left here has a big fade to black button. I would just smash.
yeah, right.
But
So alas, we can't say.
yeah, but we
It'll
can't
be great
say
when we can say.
Yes, exactly.
we
It will
can't
be great.
say that we are working on a new project.
Yes,
And I mean, me personally, I'm super stoked about it.
I am super excited about it.
Yeah.
When I came back, it was already in development, and the moment I saw it, fell in love.
Yeah.
It's truly amazing.
Yeah. Like it was when I came back, it was the first, I knew about it from when I worked here the first time, but when I came back and saw, I was just like, yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess also one more thing with the history of the studio, you came back. What was AOM released already when you came back?
It
or-
was, yes.
Okay.
It had just been released, I think, a few months beforehand,
Okay.
if I remember correctly.
Yeah. And Mike, you came back just earlier this year,
I
correct?
came back in January. It was I forget, it was going to be whatever Monday turned out to be Martin Luther King Day.
Oh, that's
Right.
right. Yes.
I remember
Yeah.
THQ Nordic being, what, you have another holiday right after Christmas?
Yep.
And I guess I should start on Tuesday,
Yeah.
not on Monday. So whatever day that was, it was shocking to me how my life. I thought I knew what I was going to be doing now, and for months to come, because we had just shipped overload, and we're kind of winding it down. We ended our lease. We were right across the street developing it. We ended our
Right.
lease. I set up an office in my basement. I'm going to do something. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And it was like the first time I left. It's like I left in May, back in 2011. I left in May, and it's like I'll be busy through the summer, and then when the weather gets cold, I'll think about doing something. And it took me, well, I guess Revival was doing something. It was
True.
hard. And
Yes.
it was,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
but it still
Yeah.
was like 4 years or something like that until I got bored. And you have 3 kids and a wife, and you travel and you go to all of your kids' soccer games and stuff. It's really easy to stay busy. You don't need a job to be busy. So then I'm sort of entering the same thing, except I've got no kids at home anymore. They're either graduated or in college, and I thought, oh, this will be fun. I'm gonna loaf again, and I'll just poke around and see what I'm gonna do. And then it was December 18th. I was golfing with Dan Cermak, a freakishly warm day in Illinois, and and the phone rings, and it's the development company for this building, because THQ Nordic was renegotiating the lease. But they never call me. They text or send me email. I thought, oh my God, something happened at the building. And it's also weird that I had my phone while golfing, because I'm not one of those people who normally does that. It's really not good etiquette. But it's December. Who cares what you do on a golf course
I
in
imagine.
December? But so then Dave Jones says, yeah, the Nordic people are here. They'd like to talk to you. I said, okay, why? Well, they want to understand the culture of Volition. And I thought, this is weird, but okay, I'm golfing. I want to finish my round. I can meet them at whatever time. And so I do that, and it just feels kind of weird. So I meet them. We have a couple of drinks. And there was Reinhard Police, who was the only person I knew. I knew of him. And then Kiki and Eric, and I didn't know it. They probably said what their title, what they did, but I didn't retain it. I thought Eric was a producer or something. I didn't know who Kiki was. And Reinhardt does all the talking. We're just talking about stuff in other games that we worked on back in the 90s and so forth. And then they start talking about Volition, the present, and it's like, we have this challenge and so forth, and it was here's the challenges that we're facing with Volition, and I talked about some of them, and after about half an hour of that, I said, well, do you have a plan to deal with these things? And then Reinhard looks over at Kiki, and then I thought, oh, I know what's going to happen here. And I'm not, frankly, paying attention to what she's saying because I'm thinking, what am I going to say? I'm pretty sure they're about to offer me a job. And this is not at all what I had planned for the next 6 months of my life, at least. I'm not going to say yes, but I'm not going to say no. So, and then she says, would you do the job? And I said, thank you for thinking about me. I'm not prepared for this. I need time to think about it. And they say, oh, sure, yeah, we understand. And then we had dinner, thank God, because I was so hungry. The meeting went over 4 hours. Ooh. And they had to leave the next day. So, and then Kiki says, I'll call you when I get home. And then she calls me and she says, so it's 36 hours later. Mike, have you made up your mind yet? No, I haven't made up my mind yet. I don't even know how to think about this thing. But really, and I'd kind of forgotten this. My wife reminded me. So I got home at midnight. And then the next morning she said, how did it go? I said, well, they offered me a job. Are you going to take it? And I said, yeah, probably. I didn't remember that. And I also looked at an email I sent to someone. It's like, yeah, the THQ Nordic people were here and they offered me a job, and I started talking about it. So it was clearly I had made up my mind, but I couldn't commit to it.
Yeah.
I'm not prepared to deal with this.
Say it.
And then finally,
yes, right.
And then she offered to fly back. Oh, you must have some questions. I can fly back. It's no, don't fly. It's practically Christmas Day.
Yeah.
So I said yes. I'd be happy to come back, but I need a few more weeks to deal with things. And I didn't. I wasn't ready to start yet.
Absolutely.
And I just had to get my head around that. So, that's the long story of how I came back.
And it was kind of funny. I learned that you were coming back, and I was just like, that's fucking crazy. And then it was not that long after you came back. It's like, Josh, you can come back. And I was, what? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, Mike Watson
Yes,
was
please.
instrumental in that. In case
Indeed, he was.
And speaking of Mike, Mike, by the way, how do you feel about the new game we're working on?
Oh my God, guys. For real, I am so crazy excited about our next game. You have no idea. This feels like what I signed up for. I'm super geek. Oh, you don't even know. Every day, seeing new prototypes, seeing new art, it is a joy. It is a gift. I wish I could tell you what it was.
Same.
He does. He brings it up all the time.
I do.
He does.
I do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Constantly messaging our devs saying, oh my gosh, I just saw this. This is awesome.
Yes.
yeah.
Yep.
It's amazing how fast the game developed while I was here. So many pieces fell into place, and from the first build I saw until what would that have been? I guess it was 1st of March.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's common, right?
Yeah,
You get to a certain
absolutely.
stage and stuff you have to get a certain thing done, and all these assets come
Exactly.
together.
it's
Very
It's
satisfying.
clicking. Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, it's just super crazy. Even when I came, it just felt like knowing how long it had been getting worked on, and Ages of Mayhem was the first game I had ever worked on in the industry so far. But just kind of knowing how long it's been in development for, and seeing where it is compared to where AOM was in the same amount of time, it is this studio is rocking it, and like
Yeah.
how quickly they are making, like iterating on all these things and like figuring out like what's really cool.
Totally.
And I think that's one of the things that like is super exciting about this project, just because there's like there's a good energy around it.
Yeah, there's
just
a
some
lot
good
for the-
vibes and shit.
The team's been doing an awesome job, and it's
Yeah.
just a ton for them to feel proud of. And I feel like we're rubbing salt in the wound as we're talking about all this stuff. The mysterious thing that we can't tell you, right? But it's really coming together right now. It's exciting, and it's not just lip service. I think we cannot wait to get to the point where we can show it to you, because I think you're going to be excited by it. But it's been going really well. There's no doubt about it.
It's until you work in the industry, it's like hard to know just how much it sucks to like for so much of your job just never being able to tell anybody what you're doing.
That's for sure.
Oh, what you're doing is secret.
Yeah.
Can you tell me? No, it's been 6 months only. Like,
Yep.
wait another, whatever. But yeah, that's like the crazy, super long history of Volition. It's always ridiculous to like think back of how long like the studio's been around. Especially with how many studios like come up and like go away for whatever reason they do. But like, yeah, with these streams, we want to celebrate that history and show you the cool stuff that you might not know about, or just show cool stuff that's never been shown off before. Like we talked about earlier, we got a Harry Potter and a Batman game we pitched in the 2000s that we have some
Somewhere.
footage of. I mean, I've got some of it archived for sure. But we also want people watching these streams to like kind of get to know like some of the developers here. Whoever we have on. We want to try at least to, like just hang out with y'all and not just be like, just reading off the bullet points off a list and then goodbye.
Can we do it that way the next time? Just read the bullet points.
We can talk if we talk in a robot voice and I put a filter on. Yeah, then it'll be fun.
I think that'd
totally.
be great. You've got that background that we can get that strange blue swirliness.
Yeah,
again,
we can
and I
bring
think
that
it'll be
back
very
and
robotic.
It fits.
We
yeah.
can do this, or I
But-
guess not if you guys don't want.
We'll
We
workshop
can play our
it.
videos back
Yeah.
there. That'd be cool.
There we go.
Constantly
Yeah.
looking at the TV
Absolutely.
then,
Yeah, we can play this video behind us.
Oh yeah.
So we're
God, is that
talking
what I had
while
in
we're
mind?
talking.
Yeah,
No,
it's
not
a-
that one.
it-
Okay.
That's a
The Harry Potter
streamception.
video. I haven't
Oh, there
seen
we
that
go.
in 15 years probably.
I mean, it's possible to accidentally do that with some streaming software. Just have
Yeah.
you infinitely going in the back, and that's called a streamception.
Oh, there
Those
we
are
go.
bad. Don't
yeah,
do that.
don't do that. Okay.
Everyone
Oh,
does
well.
it though. It can actually break your speakers. Like if the
Oh.
sound loops too much and is too loud, it'll break speakers.
Okay. I guess we won't do it then.
Streamceptions are
I
bad.
guess.
But yeah, like talking with developers and stuff here, sometimes we just want people to get to know some of the people here better. So like, for example, like, some people might know me just as the person that does the video stuff and the stream stuff here. But I'm also like a big YouTuber Let's Player, and I have been for like almost 11 years at this point. So that's like, even before I came here, that was the thing I did. So I've always been living and breathing pretty much any and all games. But yeah, aside from me, like what's some of the stuff that you guys do, like when you're not working on like here?
Are there things that are done without working? I'm not sure.
I think so.
I'm boring. I love to play video games. I play video games all the time. I love watching movies.
Yeah.
Love watching TV shows. The golden age of TV. There's just too many TV shows to even watch right now. Love reading books. Honestly entertainment junkie, pop culture entertainment junkie.
What have you been playing recently?
Recently, I've been playing a lot of Overwatch. I've been playing too much Overwatch. WoW. I've been playing Witcher 3 again. I've been doing a new game plus Witcher 3 because that game is just amazing.
Like I never played either DLC expansion for Witcher 3. I still
Lord.
haven't yet.
Those
but
are the
like
best.
when I
They're
was
amazing.
in between, working here the first time and now, I was just like, you know what? I have tons of time. I want to play those expansions, but not before I replay all the Witcher 3 first, which is a bad idea because now it's like I have to play a game for like 180
Yes,
hours.
that is the problem with it. But boy, get to them. I highly recommend them.
At this point, I think I'm just going to have to
amazing.
start them as like separate saves or something because I just need to get to them.
Yeah.
Like now.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. But what about you, Mike?
I'm really tired when I get home. I'm mentally wiped out. I'm like out of shape in a mental sort of way. I watch a lot of baseball, and the
Cubs.
The Cubs are
They had a
quite
great
good.
game yesterday.
And I bought the MLB package because
did,
that game
you
was
got
blacked
it.
out.
Man.
So yeah,
That worked out for you.
I was
That game went well.
11-0. It would have been.
Yeah.
It would have been nice to. I got the package too late when the decision. Whatever. The game was already effectively over. But so now I have it, so I can watch even more baseball. And then watch golf, which is strange. But you can do other stuff.
I've never liked watching grass grow.
I always thought it was
It's just-
stupid
it seems
until
boring
I
to me,
started
but
playing.
Golf seems like a multitasking
It is,
sport.
exactly.
It's
I
like
can see that.
It's like you don't just listen to a podcast. You listen to a podcast and do two other things at
I
the
totally
same
buy
time.
that. I did that. I did that for the Masters. The Tiger
Yeah.
just won. I did watch it. I had that on the side
I
while
was riveted.
I was
That was
playing,
one of
I
those-
was working. Yes.
One of those events where I put my phone away.
Yeah.
And I stayed off the
Yep,
internet.
I get
'cause
that.
I
That was-
watch nothing live anymore. I just.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't do
so-
that. As
and-
soon as football season comes up, that's impossible for me.
Yeah.
I have to watch it live.
I watch football. I watch football when the Bears are good.
So occasionally.
And their losses were heartbreaking last year.
Yes,
so
they really
was,
were, especially in the playoffs.
Yeah, that
rough.
was like bad writing that
Yeah,
happened.
yeah,
If-
it was.
If that
Yeah.
was fiction, people would say this is stupidly implausible.
That's extremely
And
true.
quite sad.
Yeah.
But so I watch I watch Game of Thrones. And,
doesn't?
Who doesn't?
Yeah.
No spoilers, right?
mean-
Can we say spoilers? We
Oh
can't say
no,
spoilers.
no! Somebody in the chat will get mad.
Yeah,
I haven't
understandably
watched
so.
any yet.
Oh, you haven't watched them yet?
I fell off Game of Thrones like season 5 or 6 something. I don't want to go too off tangent.
Mike
with this.
Watson, you're gonna play cooperatively
Play
with
co-op
him on
SR2
Saints Row 2.
and watch
You're
Game of
going to
Thrones
make
at the
sure he
same time.
watches Game of Thrones, and then yeah,
Yeah.
and then
I
you
can
have Witcher
do those.
3 DLC. You've got a lot to do, my
Yeah,
friend.
I keep an actual list of games I have in a backlog, and so I never get below like 100. So,
Very good.
but
I understand. I
Oh,
understand
man.
that all too well.
I get terribly
But-
motion sick from any 3D game.
right.
Practically. I can.
As the founder and of Descent,
That
the
was
first
scary.
game ever, the game where if you haven't played it, it's full 360. You can go in any direction you want.
It was scary
If there
when-
was ever a game to make you motion sick, that's the one.
Yeah, well, when the game was playable, when
Yeah.
it first became playable, I got motion sick.
Yeah, you had to
and
take
it's like-
Dramamine, right?
man.
On occasion to try to.
I gave it up. I learned that I can adapt to most games. I
Okay.
can't adapt to VR. I could tell I was getting close to throwing
Yeah.
up, and I never tried it
Man.
again. But
Just
I got
started
used to
doing VR.
Descent. I got used to Overload. It was well, that was playable the day I started on it. Luke had done a fair amount of development already, and I knew that I would. If I just made myself play it like an hour or so a day, I would
Yeah.
be okay. But it's
you
really
had to
hard
get
to
to
get into a 3D, game because
Absolutely.
I know I'm going to have to pay the price for a while.
I hope. I'm assuming then you haven't done any VR stuff.
No, I gave like 2 minutes literally,
Okay.
and I gave it and I quit.
I just started doing some VR stuff, and everything's worked fine for me, except for when I did the VR stuff for Ace Combat, because you're rolling and pitching
Yeah.
all the time, and that's the only thing that's made me like dizzy so far.
I just started it as well. They have a new patch coming out, not too distant future for No Man's Sky, which I'm
Oh, yeah.
super junky for.
Yep.
So I finally bit the bullet, got the VR set, and I've been playing with
It's
it.
really
and
cool.
It's fantastic.
Like I
But
adopted VR.
desperately
like,
need No Man's Sky.
I adopted VR way too late. But
Yeah.
Maybe not way too late.
I get it.
but
I know what you
late.
mean.
And
Yeah.
it's
I'm with you. I
also-
kind of feel like I missed certain aspects of it, but
Yeah.
that's okay. But then again, or have I? Because back in the day on Descent 2, we were doing every peripheral under
Yeah.
the sun. They actually, that's one of the things that's fun for a lot of gamers who don't realize, like, this would have been back in, 1994, I guess it would have been, 95?
Most of what we did was
the-
for Descent 2. So in
Okay, yeah,
95,
which would have been 95.
Yeah.
1995, there were VR headsets that were,
there were shutter
they're the same
glasses.
things, yeah,
I
yeah,
think
there was-
They were
Right,
like
yeah.
120,
the resolution was
yeah.
a fraction of what it is, and frame rate and everything else, but I mean, it was the same thing.
There was the VFX helmet. I think,
Yes.
and
It was something like
Yeah,
I think that
I
was it. That was the one that I used to test on, and God, you think you get dizzy now on
Yeah.
that thing? Even I'm pretty okay with that sort of thing, but motion sickness.
Yeah,
but
that
that
is
one,
Barf City back then.
Oh my lord, yeah, that was
Man.
not
We had a
gentle.
whole maybe it's still in this building of just weird equipment from back in the day.
Yeah, Jill
And-
Goldhorn, right? She would always
Yes.
send to do those OEM deals,
Yeah,
and
it's like, can you support this thing? We think we can sell 50,000
Yep.
units on it, and it worked out really well for
Yeah.
us. John Slagle did almost all of that stuff.
Okay,
and he
right.
hated it. Like he hated putting helmets on his head and stuff like that. And,
I bet he would
put
have.
the goggles on, play it, take them off, program.
Yeah, right.
But it was cool. That
Yeah.
we were getting all this stuff back then.
So yeah,
Cool.
we were into VR back then, so
Yeah.
we were way ahead of the game, I guess.
Beating everybody to the punch here.
Yeah.
But yeah, cool. I guess one more thing before we wrap this up is talking about the streams themselves. Mike, you can talk about that if you want, talking about the future of what we're going to be doing here.
Hey guys, yeah, we've got a lot of plans for the streams. We plan on doing a lot of stuff we did before, like our Break the Build streams, doing deep dives into our games, also doing big multiplayer community events like we did with Doom, and we want to do more personal dev chats with our devs, have them on the stream like today, get to know them, get to know the games they've worked on both at Volition and past studios. And also, who they are as a person and hobbies and all that kind of stuff. Hi. Hey,
Yeah,
Josh.
I mean, like, we want to have cool names for all these things too. Like, even this first stream, we were like dying for a while to like come up with like a cool name for this, and we haven't come up with anything good.
Yeah, it was Crunch Conversations and
Yeah,
Developer Dialogue
yeah.
and
Talk time.
Talk Time.
Time for talk.
Time
It's
for
talk
talk.
time.
It's Talk Time and
Yeah.
Time for Talk.
Like that was the one I've liked the most, but even still, I'm just like, it's just called talk time. That sucks.
Yeah, so all of the things that we thought about for those types of streams where we have our devs on, like today,
Yeah.
we're open to suggestions. Message us on social media. We'd love to hear what you think.
Yeah, like
Alliteration is key. We do like our alliteration.
alliteration is good, which I.
Are we
like.
interfering with this at all? Can they see us? They can't see us, right?
No, they
There's
can't
green
see us,
screen
yeah,
behind
there's a green
This is
screen.
fine.
I wonder if, are there any hardcore FREESPACE fans who understand what we're doing
It's
here?
probably not a living soul, but, and yet,
I didn't even know about it until the game was almost shipped. But there's a cheat code where Jim Boone's head can appear
Indeed.
in the game, and that's what you should, because
Just
it
like
comes
so.
in sideways like that. Someone must know what the cheat code is.
someone, somewhere.
Someone will know.
I think it might be.
We're not bothering you
Oh,
guys,
that
right?
is
This is all part of the stream.
It's great.
I'm not creeped
This
out
is
at all.
exactly it.
No,
Yeah,
it's
okay.
fine.
Very good.
I love having
We're just
all
helping.
this cramped in the corner
Yes,
of this big room.
absolutely, yes. We have a giant room and
It's
we're just
cooler
doing this
over
right-
here.
It is actually cooler.
It's
Here,
78
I do
degrees
agree.
over there.
Yes.
It's getting warm.
We're suffering for all of you.
But yeah, that's our first stream of Volition Streams 2.0.
All right.
Mike, we're going to be streaming a lot next week.
Yeah, Monday at 4 p.m. CT, our time, same time as today. We're going to be doing Saints Row 3 Switch Co-op with Kate Nelson. I'm going to be showing that off. On Thursday of next week, we have Jacques Henneket on, who was the creative director on SR3 and is our current narrative director on our new game. And he has a lot of stories to tell about Saints Row 3 development. And also, he voiced Philippe Loren, one of the main villains in SR3. So he's got some interesting
I'm told the
stories.
best Belgian accents ever,
Yeah,
I believe.
And
He didn't learn, he was playing a Belgian,
Yes.
he's French, until he was hooked for the job.
And Jacques has promised me that he will recite some of the lines from the game for your
Oh.
amusements.
Good.
I can't wait to watch that stream myself.
And then on Friday of next week, we're planning to stream with the Deep Silver Fish Lab guys. They're the
That's
studio
awesome.
who actually did the Saints Row 3 Switch port. Volition wasn't really involved in the port at all. We're just helping to promote it
Yeah.
with our streams. But we'll have those devs on, and we'll be able to talk to them, and they'll be able to tell some dev stories about how they approached the port and how all that went.
The port is awesome. They did
And,
an
yeah,
awesome job.
I played for about 2 hours last night. Josh also played, and
Yeah.
I was actually impressed by what a great job they did on it. So we're looking forward to showing the game. It's pretty great, and I love having it on the go.
Yeah, it's
to play.
it's really weird to see that game just suddenly in the context of a handheld.
Absolutely.
And also, I spent most of my time playing last night just making my character, not playing the game. So it's pretty accurate to the character I was trying to recreate. I hope people can guess it, maybe. But
I've got another terrible, horrible creation.
oh, I saw him. He looks great. He's
thank
fabulous.
you. Yeah,
he's fantastic.
great.
Beautiful.
Yeah, thanks everybody for watching.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm
Thank
gonna
you,
go
everyone.
turn the stream off.
Thanks, guys.
Goodbye.
Bye.
We'll see you next week.